name is Emily Grassley, and I've got one question and one question only, and that is, what is a museum? What is a museum?
It's a place where they have lots of things.
A museum is a place where the past lives.
It's a place you can go on the weekend and you can have fun looking over things that are older than you are and learn something.
It's a place where you learn science.
I would consider a museum kind of a place to educate yourself on many different topics.
I think a museum is a collection of artifacts and specimens that people can use.
What actually is a museum? In order to answer that question, first we must define what a museum is. The International Council of Museums, a non-profit permanent institution in the service of society and its development open to the public, which acquires, conserves, researches, communicates and exhibits the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment for the purposes of education, study and enjoyment. Whoa, that was a pretty complicated definition. Let's try and make that a little bit simpler. A museum is a place that helps our knowledge of the world around us grow by collecting, studying, looking after and showing off objects of all shapes and sizes.
Hi Laura, thought I heard you out here.
Wow, it's collection manager and friend of the touring teacher Robert Vendel. So Rob, I've been trying to answer the question, what is a museum? Do you think you could help me?
Yeah, sure thing. Why don't we go behind the scenes and I can show you what we do here.
Cool. So while we're here behind the scenes in the Natural Sciences Department, can you tell me what your job is here at the museum?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a collection manager in the Natural Science Department. So the objects that you saw out on display, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Really, 90% of the collection is actually back here in the collection stores. So collection managers, we help to look after and keep those objects safe for future generations.
So why is none of this stuff or these specimens on display in the rest of the museum?
As well as putting things out on display, another really important function of museums is to act as a research institution. So we have collections of plants and animals that go back hundreds of years. And scientists can use those collections to answer questions about the world around us. Things about how species evolved and the diversity of life on Earth.
So, how does the work here at the museum actually work?
Why don't you come and see?
So where are we right now?
So right now we're in the entomology department. So as well as the specimen itself, the really valuable part for scientists is the data that goes on these little labels. So when someone goes out and collects an insect or a plant or an animal, they write down who collected it, where they collected it, and when they collected it. That way, in hundreds of years' time, we'll always have this record of what species were living in a particular area at a particular time.
Well, I am so glad that we now know what goes on inside a museum. It's not just a place where old things are kept. It's a place of curiosity, exploration, learning, research, and wonder. Thank you so much for showing us around, Rob.
Oh, no worries.
We believe that museums make the world better and that AAM makes museums better.
I believe they can change the world and that every person who engages with a museum can find the way that they can change the world.
Museums are for lifelong learning, and there's something in a museum for everyone.
The great discovery of museums for me was this idea that you learn by choice and not by obligation.
And strictly because I was able to go with school trips to museums, I grew my entire interest in art history.
Obligation to our communities to not just be the keeper of their objects, but also to lift up the stories from our communities.
Museums serve as a space where community histories are preserved, where community histories are living today.
They take care of heritages, so I think museums are really important because if we do not have museums, there's no heritage, there's no history to talk about.
The public trusts us to tell the truth. We've got a real responsibility to the public to help educate, to help provide information, to help provide a safer place to talk about the issues of our culture.
But whether it's kind of a museum of technology, a museum of natural history, a museum of American history, or something like that, you step out of the bubble that you have kind of created around yourself and thrust yourself into a world that has existed or that might exist in the future, and it just awakens your soul, it awakens your mind in ways that you don't find anywhere else.